next speaker challenged me. So I said, challenge accepted. मैंने कृत्रिम बुद्धिमत्ता का इस्तेमाल करके हमारे अगले व्याख्या का परिचय करने का निर्णय लिया है. My Hindi is as good as my Japanese. हमारे अगले व्याख्या एक शायर हैं, तो उनका चैलेंज जब मैंने एक्सेप्ट किया है, आई couldn't figure out the words for challenge and accept, I don't know. तो वो पहले उनके टॉक के पहले हमको एक शेर सुनाएंगे. राकेश जहाजी, आइए, पहले आपका शेर सुनेंगे, फिर आपका टॉक.
Thank you, Gautam. Hello, everyone. I hope you are not sleepy by now. Okay, so I have written some lines today morning itself. I just want to and see in Hindi. Sorry for some non-Hindi folks. Maybe I'll translate after the session. Okay. नील झील पर काजल का घेरा, नील झील पर काजल का घेरा, पलकों की छाँव, ऐसा है मेरा नया बसेरा. नील झील पर काजल का घेरा, पलकों की छाँव, ऐसा है मेरा नया बसेरा. मैंने उससे कहा, क्यों इतना काजल लगाती हो? मैंने उससे कहा, क्यों इतना काजल लगाती? पता नहीं किसको अपने नैनों में बसाती, किस चांद के भाग जागे. वो मुस्कुराई और बोली, तू ही मेरा चांद, तुम्हें ही हो बसाती. काजल तो जरूरी है ताकि मेरे चांद को नजर न लागे. Okay, right. So that's for the change in mood. I hope that helps. Okay, the word Jerubi signifies love, and I'm going to talk about the love affair because Jerubi word itself has two, Java JVM plus Ruby, right? Now, without further ado, in the introduction video, I had promised some of you that I'll be showing the moment when Java JVM proposed Ruby. So let's go back in time and watch that moment live. And that moment would be a little Bollywood style. That's actually an animation built on JRuby with the library shoes for the graphical stuff. It's available in GitHub, and there will be animation characters. It has two versions, one with a music, another with text-to-speech version. There will be some lines in Hindi, Bollywood-style lines, obviously. You can read those lines. Those are very important, and it actually hints some questions. So please watch out for those lines. I hope the audio works. The Java boy approaches Ruby with a rose in his hand. And there are some lines. Okay, that's the first version. Let's look out for the another one.
Name. तुम्हारी मुस्कान मेरे दिल को छू जाती है जैसे बारिश की पहली बूंदें जमीन को Name. क्या तुम मेरी जिंदगी का सबसे खूबसूरत सफर बनोगी
Ruby, तुम्हारे साथ हर पल किसी फिल्मी कहानी जैसा लगता है
Name. तुम्हारे बिना सब सूना है तुम्हारे साथ सब रंगीन
And here comes the acceptance.
Ruby, हाँ मैं तुम्हारी रानी बनना चाहती हूँ
All right. So then thereafter they are happily together. And J Ruby comes into existence. Thanks. And those animation characters actually look like this. All right, a bit about me. So I've spent 13 years in engineering. Last 7, 8 years, I have been doing engineering in sustainability and climate risk field. And I have been with JRuby since 7, 8 years. Prior to that, I had started my career in Ruby on Rails. And I have been in MSCI most recently as a Vice President Engineering. Please reach out for me if your interest is in writing or in poetry or in travel. Right? Okay, moving to next. What's in the stock, what I'll be covering, right? So I'll be covering some of the background of the talk. Then I'll be covering the main content, that's the main course. And towards the end, I'll have some of the demos which will be kind of a dessert. Before I move further, I have some sleep alarm here. Actually a wake up alarm, not sleep alarm. Okay, so this is a picture. I know someone who will be nostalgic seeing this picture. One hint, this is the JRuby team picture. Now I have a question. Identify these champions. If you give me 3 names, I have something for you. So yes, someone? 3 names I said. That's not allowed, Gautam. Okay, 2 names. No, I'm not going down. Okay, so one of the guy that you see on the screen with a black hat is among us, Mr. Charles Nutter, the creator of JRuby. Let's have a big round of applause for him and his work. I think he worked for Red Hat, but he's wearing black hat here. Okay, moving forward. So what is JRuby? I can answer that. It's Ruby on top of Java JVM. It's like telling the story in front of the author himself, but I'll try my best. How many of you have used JRuby so far? I have got to know some of you in last night interaction. Shantanu is there, then I think Sachin is there. Yeah, I have some new hands I can see. Thanks for responding. Can I have your name, please? Yeah. Chetan, okay, all right. Okay, thanks, Chetan. So I'll cover some of the background, right? How the idea of JRuby started. Now the idea obviously began with the fact that the dynamic and expressive language like Ruby, if that gets integrated into Java, which is a well-established platform-independent version, then it's a benefit for everyone, right? It provides significant benefit. Now with that idea, all started in 2001, wherein Jan picked it up, and then the first work that he did is porting Ruby 1.6 to Java, right? Now, obviously, that was the direct port. We didn't have so much of improvement to use the power of JVM there, so it lacked some of the things. The real turning point came in 2004 when Charles came into this picture. Charles took a new chapter. He set out a new goal that we will need to make JRuby not just compatible with Ruby, but we should make it work with Rails as well. And by then, Ruby on Rails already picked up. Ruby on Rails has already pushed the boundaries of Ruby by introducing meta programming, right? So that was a very ambitious goal that he set out. And by the time, I think 2006, I guess, Sun Microsystems came on board and supported the initiative. And in 2006, we have got some more new faces who joined the forces. In 2007, we had the major release of JRuby 1.0. It was a massive, massive milestone wherein we had improved JVM integration, we had platform independence, and improved concurrency, right? So JRuby kind of achieved beyond GIL, or we can call it GVL, right? Okay, now that's a nice segue to my next slide, which talks about concurrency and parallelism. So anyone can explain me what is the difference between concurrency and parallelism? Short and sweet. Yeah, please. Okay, so let's understand it with an analogy, right? We have a chef, and he gets an order to prepare 2 dishes, to prepare omelette and to prepare a pizza. Now that chef juggles between the 2 tasks, manages it at the same time period. That's concurrency. But when you talk about true parallelism, we have 2 chefs now preparing for the dishes. Obviously, he'll have more time to focus, and then the performance and quality both will improve, right? Now that's what JRuby vouch for. JRuby supports true parallelism. This is the diagram that shows the difference. Now I'll talk about a bit of GIL or JVL that JRuby kind of cracked. So JRuby supports multiple threads running on multiple CPU cores, right? Now that inherent gives you, when you have a long running process in your application and you want to, so today in our modern world, we have an infrastructure scaled up so much that usually we have multi-core processors, right? And to leverage that power, you need something which kind of leverages this. So which kind of leverages that infra power. And JRuby gives you that power, right? So this is one of the superpower of JRuby, and which enhances your application throughput, right? So it's for the superior throughput. Now the next superpower I'll talk about is, again, so let's take an example of the code that we have, again with parallelism only. So this code talks about Fibonacci series. So here we are kind of calculating Fibonacci. We have number of threads 4. Now in this particular sort of, if you execute this particular code fragment with MRI versus with JRuby, then obviously you will see the performance benefit with JRuby because it enables the multi-core processor power. Okay, let's talk about the next superpower, which is interoperability. Now, as we can see, there is an integration of Java, JVM plus Ruby. So it obviously supports interoperability. You have you will get the vast access of libraries of Java while using JRuby. Again, in a very straightforward manner, so you can leverage Ruby code, a very clean syntax, but you can access those Java libraries, which is super powerful, right? This is one of the example wherein we are sort of trying to show usage of one of the data structure array list. We use that as a Ruby code. You can see very familiar syntax here, and then it will give you the output, right? Another superpower is JIT compilation, which is just-in-time compilation of JRuby. Now, having said that, let's say this particular code segment, we have a logic called calculate sum. It's a very simple logic, but in place of this, you can have even complex logic as well. But the main power lies if you run that in iteration of 100,000 times. Now, how JRuby helps you in this case, right? You have a background long running process, but again, it involves iterations. Now, let's see. Okay, so for the execution, JRuby first converts the Ruby code into JVM bytecode. Now it identifies that section of code which kind of gets some multiple calls, right? And it marks it as a hotspot, right? And then it converts that section of the code to native machine code compilation. Now there is no to and fro movement, conversion from Ruby to JVM bytecode to machine code. That helps you getting the power and the efficiency, and you'll get the results very in a very less time, right? So that's super fast. Another superpower is kind of vast access of AI and ML libraries, which we can have with JRuby from the Java libraries. So before the advent of GenAI as well, using JRuby, you can actually use libraries like deep learning with Java import, very clean syntax you can see, and you can do some kind of sentiment analysis, right? So I think JRuby is supportive of AI ML thing before GenAI as well. Okay, moving to next. Can anyone tell me what is this picture all about? Yes, I can have. Okay, so that's what happens. You have an obvious picture. The answer is in the heading, but we often think much more, right? It's simple water pipeline with some leakages, which signifies pipeline. We can have a data pipeline as well, and with leakages, without quality checks, we can have wrong data as well in the system, right? So that's what it signifies. Now that's a nice segue to move to the next kind of slide, which talks about data pipeline. So all those superpowers that I talked so far, we had applied in a data platform that I have been working on since last 8 years. And this data pipeline signifies that. So I'll just cover a bit more theoretical thing. What is the data platform and data pipeline all about, right? So now data ingestion. So talking about data pipeline, it starts with data sources. So you have various data sources. We work with 40 plus data sources. That data sources, we extract the raw data from those data sources, ingest it into our system. We run all those raw data through the quality checks. There are research methodologies or model calculations that are defined in the system. It picks those quality past data, run through the model, calculates thing, and then making the data ready for release it to clients, right? So that's what a simple data pipeline could be, right? Now moving next, let's understand it with a simple example. So I have an annual report of a company with 3 information points here. Electricity consumed for the year, then waste generated for the year, employee commute in kilometers, so units are mentioned. These are annual report that a company files every year. Now these are information points which we extract and load into our system, which is ingestion. The next, We run model calculation, and this is the simplest calculation could look like in a data platform, wherein we are converting our raw data into the amount of GHG emissions that the company reports, and the calculation outputs to 50 tons CO2e, right, in a year. Now, how do we show that particular stat to our client is the top right box with a text, and on top of that, we can make it more meaningful or insightful to the client by compare it with the previous year. So we can say it's a 5% increase or 10% reduction from the last year. I'll cover all those with a context. So moving next, this was a simple example. I'll touch base on bit of Gen AI and then some of the examples of data platform using that. So I'll summarize Gen AI, the advent of Gen AI. I'll talk about pure magic of Gen AI when everyone started with asking questions, right? So some of the funniest questions that we can ask is this one: write a song on pizza or write a joke, and then we get funniest answers. The second wave of Gen AI was the industry adoption, when everyone started with building tools, right, on top of the Gen AI, summarizing a long document. And then the third wave was the new age tools like Cursor or Perplexity, which we use, right? Now, with all those, the problem of multiverse arises. So we have a problem of multiverse here, because in real sense, we do not work with one particular tool. We work with multiple tools in our business case. So we have different departments, we have different tools, and different tools have a different context. So let's say, for example, I get a query from my client which says that I want to give a data lineage, right? So how do I get a data lineage? I can get that query from a Jira. So Jira might have another AI context. I can search for that in my database. Database can have another AI context. Now these two multiple worlds these AI worlds do not talk to each other, so they lack context, right? Now that's a pretty powerful sort of concept, which is context. And hence, I want to talk about MCP and the demo that I want to show. Now, MCP itself is Model Context Protocol that I have leveraged to solutionize this particular problem in my data platform. So to identify the end-to-end lineage, I can show you, okay, so these are the things that I would usually use. Jira, I can get that particular problem statement. GitHub, I can go to the latest code, take that latest code, and database, I can go read the tables and schema. Documentation, so if I want to refer to some research methodology, I'll go and refer those documentation. And then Teams chat. So if I ever want some expert view to my research colleagues, I'll go and speak to them, right? So those conversations would be there in the Teams chat. Now I have multiple tools, and they have different AI worlds not interconnected. Now, one of the things that OpenAI released in 2023 is function calling. That kind of helped, but again, did not solve the problem entirely. So different tools, right? And the bot kind of the bot kind of interact with those tools to different sort of integration points, Jira, GitHub. Now the problem here I want to indicate is these tools again gives you a development nightmare and a maintenance nightmare, because now you have to write tools to each of the integration points. To solve this particular problem, we have a concept that we are actually utilizing in our data platform, which is MCP, and it's the next big thing, I think, in the 3 or 4 years. It's already a standard, but it will be fortified further, right, as an industry standard. Now, the MCP gives you interconnected context, and that's how it solves the problem. I'll not deep dive into it because we have a talk on MCP here. I'll quickly go through one of the application that I had built using JRuby and MCP. So it's kind of a JRuby application which uses MCP concept. Let me go through that. I hope the screen is visible. So it's an e-commerce application. It has a sort of dummy data of orders and revenues and blah, blah, right? Now you can see the basic analytics. The power comes when you integrate MCP and you want to show advanced analytics. To that, let me just write quickly a query. I hope it should generate the result. Yeah. So you can see it fetches the context of orders or revenues, and it shows me the monthly orders, right, in a nice fashion. Now, there are multiple use cases that can happen. I can integrate much more here, but I have made it very limited. This particular application is also available in the GitHub. We can go and see that as well. Okay, so towards the end, what's the takeaway, right? We talked about the evolution of JRuby, the story how the JRuby started. We talked about superpowers of JRuby, and the core DNA lies in parallelism and supporting interoperability, blah, blah. We talked about some of the use cases that we applied those superpowers into data platform. We have an upcoming MCP application for that. I just demoed a sample application.
Loud round of applause for Rakesh. Thank you so much.